People are going to accuse you of hating Jay-Z Knight.
No, I don't.
And
Because she's a very brilliant woman. I just feel sorry for her. She's got herself in this thing where she can't get out.
do you remember the incident where Jay-Z sent Vicky Cady to somebody's house with the bullhorn?
Yeah, yeah, and I was, I can't remember why I wasn't involved in any of that. It was her that did that, and I can't remember. I just can't speculate on what it was or why. I can't remember that one. I just was kind of a bystander on that one. Didn't get involved in it. Early on, she's in '86, the end of '86, I went to a house over in Lacey where there was another channel that was channeling Yahweh. I think it was. No, Yid. What is her? Id?
Id.
Id, yeah. Well, she got up and did her routine, and I could see how phony that was. There was 20 people in there, and asking all these questions, and somebody's walking around behind her with a tape recorder, a small tape recorder, and she stands up and she looks at the girl and she goes, "Look how good I work this body now," And well, later on, she came up with told all the people that too. She says, "I'm not channeling anything but myself, but I'm doing a pretty good job. Do you still want to follow me?" And people did. So we're gullible. If it sounds good, we'll do it.
Well, one of the things that troubles me so much about this whole thing that's going on in RSC is that there is some goodness, there is some truth. Obviously, as we are, I feel more than just our human bodies and our minds, and there's an incredible mystery of life, and also I think an innate spark of God in all of us. But what troubles me is that it infects that goodness. It can destroy that faith, if you like, that hope in people when it's abused.
And it's that these people are putting all their stock into what somebody else says instead of introspection and looking at what they've done. Or reading a book, a self-help book, they can do the same thing. A lot of people don't have that ability, but to listen to somebody that's coming from such a phony place to give this message, that bothers me also. They're not a true. If it was just Jay-Z doing it, telling these people they could do this, it'd be fine. Just like Benny Hinn or any of these televangelists, they got Jesus Christ that's doing it for them. Well, Jay-Z has Ramtha, but Jesus Christ is a real figure in history, and Ramtha's not.
You have a life here in Yelm. You've been very I want to say involved in the community on many levels. So you have a track record of action.
Yeah.
Not so much what you say. It's like people know you for what you've done. That seems to be what's lost here. Jay-Z can come out and deliver this amazing oratory through Ramtha, all these words, but who she is and what she does is something else that is almost ignored. How she treats others and so forth in the scale of picture. The intimidation that she does through the law courts and so on is one of the examples. And anybody dares use some of these so-called sacred teachings of their own are immediately dismissed from RSE or even sued.
Right.
So her actions are complete opposite to what the so-called message is or used to be.
Right.
What's your feeling? How come as a society or community we allow that, in the sense of the media, the community falls for that? What is that?
Because nobody knows what's on the other side, and they think that they're getting the answer from this because this person comes from the other side. That it's like 2,000 years ago or more when God was speaking to people. And there's all kinds of stories in the Bible about that. And I think that people have been disenchanted with other things. They've looked for it. We had one guy in the school that he said, "I did everything that the Mormon church told me to do. I was an elder. I gave them money. I went to church all the time, raised my kids that way, and my wife was still sleeping with other men. So what did I do wrong?" So I mean, he thought he found the answer in Ramtha until he met Jay-Z. Him and I were close to her, and he's gone.
He's gone. He's died.
Yeah. but he's the kind of guy that he went searching. He followed other channels looking for these answers. He's not like me, where I have enough answers in my life that I don't need to go following anybody else. I don't need to follow and search around to find somebody to give me answers about what's on the other side. And I love this community, and I've been, even before I was out of the school, I did things in the community. So I didn't just move here to become a member of that school. I moved here to be a member of this community. And I've done that, I've proved that ever since I've been here. And I've done lots of things. So you could say I kind of opened myself up to it, but because the people that I know here know that I went there, and they don't condemn me for it.
So why aren't you concerned, or are you concerned of any backlash from Jay-Z Knight? Or
I'm sure there's going to be backlashes, and she's told lies about me before, so I don't know what will come of this one, but I will persevere. And if I can get the message out to somebody to let them know that this is not everything they think it is, and they can look at their life a little bit and maybe make changes and feel better about themselves, then I'm willing to do it.
What do you say of those people that come here believing what RSC tells them? For instance, that any disease known to mankind it can be healed here, cancers and so forth, and
viruses.
Yeah. What do you?
Well, there's too many dead people that came here to get cured that weren't cured, and the school's thing is they didn't believe hard enough. They can go into remission. There's some of them that went into remission for a short time, but later on died. And they're touted as, I remember a girl named Lynn Swanson. Ramtha hugged her and told everybody she was free of cancer. 6 months she was gone. Everybody, there was people crying in the crowd. It was the most moving time. Lynn had come here to get cured, and she was cured. Ramtha told her she was cured, and then she was gone. So,
but she's dancing with Ramtha now on the 32nd universe.
Yeah, so that people are happy that she died. They don't look at it as a fact that Ramtha lied to her. The whole school was a lie, and she's dead. No, she's with Ramtha now. So that's what they think.
Do you think? I mean, I in my time there, I had an incident where a staff member claimed that she manifested a feather. A blue feather. That was the times
Right.
Maybe you were there. We were manifesting out of nothing. Right. And then she came in one morning waving the blue feather, and I told my story a few times, but she sat next to me. She was my partner, and then I asked her what the secret was. I thought she had some technique, and obviously she was a highly evolved master, and I was so honored that she would be talking to me. So I asked her, well, how, whisper, just tell me. We don't have to tell everybody else. Well, how did you do this? And she said she went to the store and bought it. And I thought she was joking, and I said, no, come on, he can tell me. You know, I mean, I'm here. Come on, I came from New Zealand, and
she manifested it, though.
Yeah, and she said, no, I manifested it. I was walking through the store, an art store, and looking for my crowns and my papers, and there was the blue feather. It was $2. So I manifested it. But 1,200 other people believed that she manifested that.
It appeared right before her.
Yeah.
Okay, so Joe Alt, little brother Brian, I think, anyway, he told Jay-Z that he was trying to manifest a paperclip. Told his brother that, and he told Jay-Z, but we were walking back to the house one time, and Ramtha looked down, there's a paperclip, and he goes, go back and give this to Joe's brother. And I went, oh, okay. I went in there, and he goes, oh, God, my paperclip. I manifested my paperclip. Another girl was trying to manifest a walnut, and she got up and told, she had her walnut in her hand. She said how she was in the store, and there was her walnut. Well, this is fall, when there's walnuts and almonds and chestnuts and pecans and all these things there, and there was her walnut. She knew that was her walnut right in that bin, and so she picked it up and put it in her pocket. She actually stole the walnut and brought it home. That was her walnut. So that's what you call manifesting, So I've had a lot of people tell me their miracles and the things that Ramtha did for them, But I believe those are a lot of coincidences that just happen. And they have taken those coincidences and given them a higher power. Done things that are incredibly outrageous, like manifesting walnut and all those things. So, I feel sorry for them. That's all I can say. They just you just have to change your whole attitude and be happy with life, and things happen for you. You don't have to go out there and do that. You don't have to sit and scream and holler and puff until you blow your optic nerve out, or you cause rhythms in your heart that aren't right. Joe blew an optic nerve. Joe Dispenza blew an optic nerve out. I would watch him do his CNE, and he did it all wrong, totally all the time, as to the teachings, and I could see he was going to hurt himself. And there was another girl in there. She would pump, get her arms flapping. I thought she was going to take off a couple of times. And her name was Judy Zimmerman. She died of cancer. She was there to cure herself. She died of cancer. So I've seen a lot of them that knew that this was going to be the answer to all their prayers, and it never was.
And remember the warrior cry, the screamers?
Oh, I just couldn't stand that. It was just so irritating. But when you have a bunch of people together and you're doing a certain thing for a little while and they start losing interest. So you have to add another little end to it. Well, you got to drink a little wine. That'll open up your head. And then, well, you should drink more of that. And then there's dancing involved. There's all the things with those wine ceremonies that make it more fun to do, and you think you're actually accomplishing something. Now, when a lot of them were getting busted for drunk driving and things like that, they had to tone that all down, and now I guess they're very rare that they do the wine ceremonies. As far as I know, I've talked to a couple of people that they happen very, very rarely, and they're all locked in there to stay. They have to sign things and say they're not going to leave.
Very much a deprivation situation, what's going on there. And when you become that exhausted and you really, if you like, need an experience, then it's going to start.
Well, all groups that get together, they have what they call a group high. And you can see it in the televangelists. These guys, they are you? Amen, amen. Everybody gets going on this, and they get to feeling very, very good. Mm-hmm. And after the thing's over, they still feel wonderful about themselves. They wake up the next morning and go, what the hell did I do? So, I mean, that's the same thing that goes here. The group high is something that's infectious, and it makes you feel good after you've been to a good event, where you don't get chewed out for being the scum of the earth and not being smart enough or advanced enough or good enough to advance to being a better person.
I'm saying, if there's somebody, you were looking at somebody, let's say this is a person here that says to you, look, I'm coming to RSC, perhaps I'm coming from Australia or Europe, and I really want to check this out. What would you advise them?
Well, I've had people... I don't know what. Yeah, there was people most of the people that I see at the motel now are foreigners and can't understand English. So I've never had a chance to talk to them. But I've had townspeople tell me, "Boy, I'm really interested in that. I'd really like to know what goes on there." And I said, "Well, let's go over here and sit in the corner, and I'll tell you what goes on there. Then you can save the money and not have to go out there and find out for yourself.
Maybe save their family, their
Yeah. Well, I tell them the whole thing. I said, first of all, be prepared to give up a lot of stuff that you have right now. Your kids, your husband, your family, you want to be sure you got those people taken care of and out of the way, because you're going to be spending, once you get into this, you'll be spending all your time out there, and you'll be trying to become enlightened, and pretty much the only thing that'll be enlightened is your wallet. I tell a lot of people that. They really get into your wallet if you really want to learn. So, and I try to do it in a loving, sort of kind way to them, but some people, you just have to lay it right out really quickly for them, and show them.
When you first started sharing your experience, you spoke about the hope, like you gave your wife.
Yeah.
And that's the part that is so hard for people to let go of, that hope.
Right.
Because some people are perhaps in a midlife crisis, maybe they've got a serious illness, they're very afraid, they're very frightened of something, and this gives them a lot of hope, because some of the message is good.
Yes, it is.
And that's the draw. Now, it's very hard to say to somebody, this isn't for your benefit in the long term. In the bigger picture, this is something else going on here.
Right. But she was so wrapped up in the tapes and telling me that I didn't listen to tapes. I didn't know what I was talking about. So it was different in her case, but it still kept her from wanting to kill herself. She lost those suicidal tendencies. So that was a good thing in the long run. And then when we finally found out that she was bipolar and had fits of depression, and back then I didn't know about those things. I had no idea that somebody could be that messed up in their mind all by themselves. You know, it was something really new. And now she's on pills that help her keep her brain chemistry in the right place.
Perhaps educators watching this video, even media professionals, journalists, what I find the big mistake they make is not understanding the dynamics of Jay-Z Knight. Perhaps when they ask Jay-Z Knight a question, Jay-Z would say, "No, I didn't say that." But they have not separated Ramtha and Jay-Z Knight.
Right.
So it's very hard, I should imagine, and I've witnessed it, that journalists to approach this. How would you...
Well, back in, she had all those scientists come and test Ramtha. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Was it early 90s, I believe, 92 or 3, something like that?
It was more 95, I think.
95, okay. So they all were staying at the motel. There was I think there was 5 different people. There was a UFO expert.
And
yeah, there was a UFO expert. There was Gordon Melton. He was writing a book on the school. There was a guy with a machine that would test the body of things. And so I said, as they got done interviewing, Channel 5 was there filming them all, talking about their experiences with Ramtha, or Jay-Z Knight, and the school. And they were all saying something. As they would leave, I was sitting over at the table, and I'd snicker at one of them, this woman, especially the woman with the UFOs. And she said, "Well, what's so funny?" And I said, "Have you ever talked to anybody that's not in the school?" And she goes, "Well, no." I said, "All you did was go down there and get wined and dined and saw how beautiful everything was?" And she goes, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, has Ramtha ever talked about anything that was new, let's say, in UFO sightings?" And she goes, "Well, no, as a matter of fact, all the stuff that Ramtha talks about is at least 20 years old." And I said, "Well, there's not much new stuff out there on UFOs." And she goes, "Yeah." And she left scratching her head. The guy with the lie detector, he said, "Well, yeah, there's a definite change in the body." And I said, "So basically what you have is a lie detector, basically?" And he goes, "Well, yeah." And I said, "So when you put Ramtha on there, does that mean Jay-Z's lying? Maybe that's why there's a jump in those needles?" And he goes, "No, that couldn't happen." He got mad at me and walked. He just got up from his chair and slammed out and walked away. And I can't remember the next guy I talked to. He was something else, and he says, "Yeah, you're right. Everything Ramtha's saying is really old." He says, "In fact, it's it's passé." So I said, "How do you know Ramtha exists then?" And he goes, "Well, the guy with the machine, you know." And I said, "Well," he said, "Yeah, you're probably right." And Gordon Melton, when he was the one that wrote the book about the school. He's also written books about vampires and stuff.
Right.
And I talked to him more than any of the rest of them. And I said, "Well, Gordon, you know that there's no Ramtha, doesn't exist." And he says, "I don't care. I'm just writing a book."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He says, "It's not for me to judge." He says, "I saw it, and that's what I'm writing about. That's what they're paying me for." And I went, "Oh, okay." So, I had an answer for all those people, but most of them, they had spent the week out there with all the best and having the best foods and their food paid for, and they were paid to do all this. So what else are they going to say? Right. They're not going to say, "Yeah, this is the biggest bunch of horse pucky I've ever found."
Well, the question begs, if they're testing if Ramtha exists, and then Ramtha agrees to that, why doesn't just Ramtha appear?
Yeah.
Get it out, have a camera there.
Yeah.
Why all this fuss?
Yeah, why go? Well, because we're not going to believe that that's really Ramtha.
Well, the scientists could turn around and say, "Well, it's on camera here, you know."
So, yeah,
it'd be world news.
Really exists,
it'd be world news overnight.
Devotees of Ramtha or any other guru or whomever, is that they stop listening to their heart and
Right.
following something or someone outside themselves. And that is the same thing that we are about, is the
Right.
support of individuals to discover what is true for themselves through their own experience, not because someone tells them to do X, Y, and Z,
Right.
but to really be the scientist of their own selves. And so in that journey that you have made, I really find you quite a spiritual man, so I wanted to
Well, thank
say
you.
that.
I never thought about it being spiritual.
You could become a teacher and start a school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could think of a good name, I'd have somebody walking around behind me with a tape recorder crying everything I said. But all the good names were taken up. We had Mafu, and we had Zarathustra, and
Tell
we
me about
had
Mafu.
Glen
Penny Torres did
Yes.
Mafu. Now, the Hawaiian tape, if you notice, Jay-Z Knight sits down in this great big chair and puts her feet up under her, and she goes into being Ramtha, arms like this, brings the feet down, and stands. Well, when she's at her home doing that, she sits in a chair like this and doesn't cross her legs. But she said the only reason she did it in that chair was because it was so big and it was comfortable and easy to do that, But normally I've watched it, boom, boom, and so be it. And Ramtha starts. So Penny Torres does it just like Jay-Z does on her that Hawaiian tape, So we kind of know, and talks almost the same way as Ramtha in the early days. And she finally quit doing channeling around here and moved down somewhere to Oregon. And she has a farm where she has people that come and they live with Mafu all the time now. I know a guy that left here and went down there to live with Mafu.
Are you saying Penny
And-
Torres was here at one time?
Yeah, she came through this area at one time. She was down, where did I see her? Down and off of, we had a spiritualist from L.A. move up here, and her name was, God, I haven't thought about her in years. She brought a whole bunch of people up here with her, but then she went to Jay-Z or Ramtha, and it wasn't quite right. That was costing her too much money, so she was way down off of Case Road, down into the other end of the valley, down off Black Lake, and way down there. And she was there for a while, but couldn't get the following that she had in L.A., so she went back to L.A. And I can't remember her name now.
We can put it in
old.
later. We can.
Yeah. So then Penny would do just like Ramtha, but the people would spend time there. What she'd do is tie a man and a woman together for a week and make them do everything. They know themselves. They have to go to the bathroom together. People that didn't know each other, and she did really, really silly stuff. And I don't know. I haven't heard Mafu be mentioned in years now.
So why isn't Jay-Z suing Penny Torres then? Why didn't?
Well,
what
because it was early on, and I guess Penny got far enough away that it wasn't taking any of her bread and butter.
So it's only if it's in the neighborhood that
It seems to be, yeah.
becomes a
It's just
problem.
like the Tahoma Terror over there. The only reason she's going after them is because it's close to her territory there. So it's really ridiculous of her too. So
Who is this?
who? Tahoma Terror? Haven't you been reading about do you read the Nisqually Valley News?
No.
Well, you ought to, because there's a lot of stuff in there about how Jay-Z Knight is suing the city for letting all those houses being built there.
Oh, okay.
And then James
Yeah.
Flick is going over there doing his, he taking pictures of stuff, and they got him for trespassing, and it's turning into a nice little war. She needs to lose a whole bunch more things before she'll stop doing this stuff. And I think, as I've told you, the only reason she does it is because it keeps the cult against one enemy. It keeps that group of people hating something, And so that goes completely against the school of enlightenment. If you're going to be enlightened, why do you start a war with the town you're in? Why do you start any of this stuff? It just doesn't make sense, other than she wants to keep it her sweet little town that she never does anything in. But she talks about her people spending lots and lots of money here every month, for every time they come to town. And those people, they fill out those things, you know, and I know most of them. You don't see them shopping in the stores very much anymore. You don't see them spending the money they used to. Jay-Z lent people money when we first started staying at the ranch. She lent Rich Kelly and they started this catering. So they were catering breakfasts and meals for people that had to stay overnight in the ranch. They didn't bring their own food. So Ramtha, Jay-Z, they made a deal with Jay-Z. Jay-Z loaned them money. Then the first time they come out and set up their breakfast, Ramtha didn't let anybody out for hours. The food got cold. They lost all that food. Couldn't even sell it. And the next time when they brought lunch back in, wouldn't let anybody go out and eat. Those people lost, and then Jay-Z demanded her money. So I mean, she did, and she had somebody open up a wine store down there, and that's when the wine things almost quit immediately because it was somebody she didn't like. Well, she did the same thing to Bev Dietrich out there that was writing Windwards or the paper about it. Yeah. And after we'd gone to the Estes Park, and when Ramtha came in, well, she was talking about all these metaphysical books and quantum books and history of time and all those things. Well, Bev was just selling the heck out of those, man. She sold out almost every book she had there. And when we came back, she said, we're setting up a bookstore and we're not going to give Bev interviews with Ramtha or anything anymore. So they went out of business because of Jay-Z. She wanted all that money from the books. She had no idea the books were going to sell like that. So now she has a bookstore.
Yeah, she opened up, and Thunder Market was another.
Yeah, Thunder Market, they had that.
They had problems there, and they were accused of being laundering drugs and so forth, and then
one of the nicest families ever been here. Yeah, they were good people.
Just ruined by that so-called rumor that went out. I think it was 92, 91, that this is perhaps connected to your situation. There was an event called, and of course I go running there thinking it's something special to hear. Jay-Z starts crying and says the school's going to be shutting down, imminent.
Because of IRS.
The IRS. And they found a way to shut us down through the IRS. It's not the IRS, it's the bad guys.
Yeah.
You know,
the grey men.
The grey men. And people were crying, how can we help? We want to help. Well, there's only one way. I've got to raise a lot of money.
Yeah.
So pretty much it was extortion, emotional extortion and lying. And I'm going to keep this on tape. I was there. And so people gave her a lot of money, millions. Wow. And so what happened was several years ago in the wine ceremonies, the truth ceremonies, I don't know why Jay-Z decided to do it. Maybe somebody was going to blow the whistle. But she stood up there and said, I have confession. Remember that time, the IRS was going to shut us down? I lied. I just didn't pay my taxes. And I will pay you all back. And she paid Roberta back, and I believe she paid Linda Evans. But what about all those poor ones that have gone and paid money?
Yeah.
But she admitted that was a lie. But people cheered because she's so honest.
Mm-hmm. When was that?
I would say it was, 91, 92?
That was after I was gone. So it had to be a little later. No. Probably, yeah.
It must be
could have been 92 because I was gone there.
And the event, it would have been a wine ceremony where Jay-Z and I confessed that she lied to that situation, to everybody. But people cheered and thought that was honourable of her to finally come clean.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things like that. Wow. Oh, yeah, she is very tight. And then I've seen her with a drunk lady out on Russian Hill. Somebody called and said she's in really bad shape. She was laying in her bathroom floor, totally drunk. Was losing her house. It was just filthy. And sent a bunch of us out there. I was still working for her, sent a bunch of us out there. We cleaned up her place. Jay-Z paid her back payments, sent her over to a rehab in Yakima, got her all sobered up, and brought her back. I mean, she did that, made her look really good, and the story went throughout the school for
that's how it is. It's
the longest
calculated.
time.
It's totally calculated.
Yeah. So like I said, she is a sociopath. Everything she does is for her and nobody else. She doesn't care anything about anybody else's feelings at all. ever. And I've seen it time and again as she was Jay-Z.
Glenn, will you speculate where you think this will end up?
What I would really like her to do is just get tired of this and move to Spain. I heard that story that she wanted to move to Spain, because I don't want her getting sick and dying in our town here, because the people will never go away. They'll stay here. This will be Mecca to them. I can see them all going out there and praying and having somebody will take over the teachings that's higher up, and it'll still stay a business. But the kids, I guess, I don't know. I've thought about this a lot as to where and how it would happen. And every year that I see her name in the paper, she gets younger than me. Now I'm 61, and when I started this out, she was 4 years older than me, and now I think she's 3 years younger than I am.
Oh,
so
yeah.
She's not aging as fast as I have.
How about that?
Yeah.
Glenn,
so I got a kick out of
Time
that.
works differently.
What's your opinion of the people that work for the inner staff that work for Jay-Z Night right now?
Well, I think people that work real close with her know the truth, but they got a job, and they're used to that. If they quit, what are they going to do? They've been there for years. They've left their families. They've done everything. What would they do then? That's why they stay.
It's called getting a life, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough to get a life. I had the same thing happen when I was out of there. Nobody would talk to me. I couldn't, I didn't know enough townspeople to get jobs, and it was just piddling in.
You
not
mean the
very
focus?
much. The Ramsters wouldn't give me jobs, because I was out of the school.
Yeah, that's a joke. The focus.
The folkies, yeah, she called them the folkies. So she was laughing at him one day. I was telling her stories, and she had her telescope looking at them in the field, bumping into each other and laughing, and I was telling her stories about them smashing into each other and keeping her laughing, and she finally looked up at me and she said, we're not going to laugh at the folkies anymore. I'm like, sure. Never told another story about anything funny. So, especially when them smashing into each other, and I just couldn't understand these people that would put on their mask and run across the field to the fence on the other side. I asked this Ed Wilsey, his head's all split open, and I said, what made you think you were that enlightened? And he goes, I just knew I could do it.
Well, I did it myself. Jay-Z had us line up on either side of the fence. I think there was 500 of us on either side, and have us run across to the other side. And she made us do it twice, or convinced us to do it twice. Now, I call that brainwashing.
Yeah. How many people were injured?
A
First
lot.
time that ever happened, 23 people ended up at St. Martin's.
23 people.
23 people with cuts, broken noses, broken ankles, broken arms. Cuts, mostly cuts, smashing into each other and breaking their noses and splitting their heads wide open and breaking out their teeth. I watched Gary Craig had his hands like this, man, just peeling across there, and went right between the two boards and hit that top board of the fence right in his face. Just bloodied. His lips swelled up, and I said, man. And he goes, huh? It was a lesson. Yeah, a lesson not to do that. But I did know a lot of people that quit when that started. There was a lot of them that was it. They were not going to abuse themselves that way.
Do you think Jay-Z experiments on people in the groups, see what envelope, she can push on, how much control? Have you seen that?
I think it's gotten to where she doesn't like doing it, but the power to get those people to do what she wants, that's a strong influence on people, especially when you're like her, where you don't really care and it's kind of fun to watch. It's like torturing a rat, That's the way I felt. I used to call the tank the rat maze. I said, well, they're out there in a rat maze. And it really bothered me. Mike Alt quit because he said, I was on top of that tank, and he said, I saw 1,200 people that if Ramtha said, there's some swords in here, the last one will go with me, he said, those people would have killed each other to get there. And I said, yeah, I looked out there and I saw 1,200 people that would drink the Kool-Aid. I said, I was convinced that if Ramtha said, go out and drink the Kool-Aid, everybody would, except me, And I felt that made me feel really creepy, and that was towards the end of my tenure there, and I I was getting ready to get out anyway. Yeah.
Well, in a way, there's been a form of Kool-Aid with the C11 water. Don't know if you know about that.
Yeah.
And also popping the Prozac.
Oh, I knew a girl that worked in the house. She was housekeeper. And she said, I was on Prozac because that's what we had to do in order to keep your job. And she says, this is her word, she says, I was so totally fucked up all the time. She said, I couldn't even function like a human. And she said, Jay-Z, she said, I'd got a hat out in the arena one time from somebody, and he'd given Jay-Z the same hat. Well, that's the reason she left was Jay-Z said, why did you steal my hat? And she goes, well, she said, here she is on Prozac. She goes, I didn't steal your hat, this is mine, you know. And she goes, that is my hat, and I know you've taken it. She says, I don't appreciate you stealing from me. Don't steal anything from me. I know that's my hat. And she got up and quit and left and Jay-Z went in there and found her hat in the closet and probably went, oh well, you get somebody new in here.
Get new in.
Yeah,
so
everybody's disposable.
Yeah, they are. So, and
right.
You never know when you're working with a woman what she's going to do next, or a person of that bent. Jeannie and I used to try to figure out. Now we sit at home planning. Now, what do you think if we say this? What do you think might happen? Or when we take this, what are we going to do? And we would just sometimes look at each other and be totally amazed because she would be completely opposite of what a normal person would do at any one thing, you know. And I'd just walk out of there with a big old grin on my face because we could never figure out what wacky thing she was going to do next. It got to be the biggest game with me. God.
You're still smiling.
Yeah. I one time we're walking back to the house with Ramtha, and she said, how did the people do? And I said, you know, some of those human beings are nutcases. And Ramtha started laughing, tried to zoom ahead of me so I didn't want to ever let me see him laugh. So I always stayed ahead. But that was there at the end, that was my biggest thing. Then I asked about dogs. I said, you know, you do a lot of talking about the old days and the campgrounds and everything. No dogs? We had jackals that followed us and ate the scraps, you know. And I went, oh, okay, that's cool. But that was, never had a dog, you know. But then when you start reading about dogs and how they domesticated themselves, they've got new theories on that now. It might be pretty true if it was that way, but as we know, the timelines don't work.
Oh, well, a different timeline.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Glenn, thanks so much.
You bet.
I mean, this is from a lot of people.
All right.
That I'm speaking for.
I want to be able to help them. And if we can help one, it's well worth it. So...
In an ocean